Welcome to the Patriot Training YouTube channel. My name is Clay Howell. I am the owner and head firearms instructor at Patriot Training. The purpose of this video is to discuss some gun class pro tips. These tips are designed to help you have a better experience at your gun class, whether that class be with Patriot Training or somewhere else. The first and possibly most important tip I can give you is read the course description, read the required materials list, read the prerequisites, reread these things. And I would suggest you do this before you even purchase the class. Speaking of the gear list, bring the needed items. The school owner or head instructor or whomever put this material online for you to read probably had a reason behind listing the items needed. You're going to have a much better class if you bring the right things as opposed to trying to MacGyver it. Along that same vein, it's one thing to forget an item or two. It's another thing to intentionally not bring it. Oh, I see it on the list and I'm just not going to bring it because I ain't going to need it. Well, there might be a reason the instructor put that up there. Also in that same vein, if you wear glasses or contact lenses, bring them. I'm reminded of a student who showed up to class without his glasses, and this was a marksmanship class, and he couldn't figure out why he couldn't see the target. I said, "Where are your glasses?" He goes, "I left them at home." I said, "That's why you can't see your target." I know this is going to come as a shock, but he did not have a good day. He had a very difficult time hitting a target he could not see. Bring food, bring water. Most people like to eat, and you definitely need to rehydrate. The number one cause of performance degradation is dehydration. And many people will bring some soda, some sports beverages, Gatorade, Powerade, what have you. And I like those things too, don't get me wrong. But bring some water, some plain old water. You need that to rehydrate. It's good for you. It will not rust the pipes, I promise. Bring some sunscreen. You don't want to go home looking like a lobster. Bring some bug spray. Hey, I'm here in Tennessee, and if you're anywhere between, say, maybe March and November, there's going to be bugs outside, and you don't want to go home with welts all over your body, so bring some bug spray. If you have a backup gun, bring it. That means bring a backup pistol to a pistol class. Bring a backup rifle to a rifle class. Bring at least as much ammunition as is listed. You would not believe how many times I've seen somebody come to a class that has a 500 round count and they brought 400 rounds. And yet this person's name was not Jesus Christ. They had not performed the miracle of the feeding of 5,000 with 5 loaves of bread and 2 small fishes. So if your name is not Jesus Christ, if you have not performed that miracle, multiplied the bread and the fishes, bring at least the minimum number of rounds. And I tell you what, if you bring some extra, you won't be disappointed. You might get to shoot a few exercises over again if you wish. Bring cleaning materials and lubricant for your firearm. Bring tools to fix your rifle, adjust your optics, what have you. Get a good night's sleep before class. It's amazing it has to be said, but it still does. Avoid alcohol and recreational substances before and during class. I'm not judging what another grown adult does on his or her own time. That's not any of my business. But being in an altered state of mind, being impaired, is not safe when it comes around firearms. Get a good meal the night before. Something wholesome and nourishing. I've said it before and I'll say it again. Drink water. I drink about a gallon a day during my classes. It never fails. Every single class, we have somebody end of the day and their performance is starting to go downhill. And I look over and they've got a bottle and a half of water. That's all they've had all day. Well, no duh. That's going to be a clue. Take notes. You wouldn't believe how many times I've been in a class where somebody paid $500, $600, $700 or more and doesn't have any note-taking material. I've been in classes where they mandated note-taking material and people didn't bring it. I don't get that. You're paying good money, hard-earned money, to hear an instructor's take on things, and if you're a grown adult like me and you know that even if you have a good memory, you're not going to remember it 30, 60, 90 days from now, why not just go ahead and write it down? Plus, you can not only log and document what was said, you can log and document the exercises you performed. You can document other observations that you made about the class, how it was run, what you liked, what you didn't like. Stick to the course material. You wouldn't believe how many times somebody says in a gun class, "Hey, can I do this the way I learned at another school?" Yeah, you can, but you're totally missing the point of why we're doing it the way we're doing it now. You're not learning the new skill. You're going on something you already know. This is to teach you something new, give you more tools for the toolbox. And to say a little bit more about this, in a class, it's not the opportunity to go and show off. It's the opportunity to go and get a good grasp of new things. Get a better grasp of things you might already know. Now this one is a general pro tip. Don't talk about what you think you know. Nobody else in that class is paid to hear what you think you know. In many schools, the instructors will become quite offended if you mention another school. So even though I don't care, don't be going around talking about who all else you've trained with. Don't be that guy. Asking questions is good. You do not have to ask a question on every single topic taught. If your fellow students know you because of that, they don't like you. Slow down. It's not a competition. You're not there to show off. Slow down and do it right. Don't muzzle people. Pointing a gun at someone is not a good way to make friends. Because it's not a competition and because it is a class is not a good time to try out new gear. You need to bring gear that you're at least somewhat familiar with. You don't want to be out all your hard-earned money and you're fighting your gear the whole time. to an extent, we can help you. I've fixed so many slings I can't begin to even name them all or count them all. But at the same time, if you've got two options and one of it is some tried and true gear, do it with the tried and true gear, then go home and practice with your new gear. Speaking of gear, bring the gear that's suggested. Don't try to find a weird substitute. You don't have to be weird. I'm reminded of a person who was signed up for Essential Pistol, and he sends a message, says, "Hey, can I take Essential Pistol with my single action revolver? Yes, think cowboy style." And there was a little bit of back and forth where I was encouraging him instead to take it with his Glock 17. Because he would learn a lot more that way, and then he could go practice with a single action revolver. And he kind of went against something else I mentioned earlier, and he said, well, he had taken a class with so-and-so, and it was a noted instructor I've heard of, a good instructor, that he had taken a revolver class from him with his single action, done just fine. Well, maybe he had, but his most recent pictures on social media showed him with a double action revolver. And I looked at that instructor's revolver class that had just happened, and the requirement was to bring a double action. I promise you, and the instructor specifically said, don't bring a single action, bring a double action revolver. And I promise you that student did not get away with bringing a single action in that class. Ironically, that person paid for Essential Pistol but never showed up. Next point, bring the best quality training ammunition that you can afford. I get it, money's tight. Had somebody reach out to me once prior to getting into a class and says, why don't you like steel-cased ammo? And he was referring to AR-15s. And before I get into my answer, I'm going to tell you, the people that say that they've got hundreds or thousands of rounds of steel-cased ammunition downrange with an AR with no problem, that's what they tell you. Here's the reality. There's perception, and then there's reality. The reality is they had a box of Wolf ammunition or some such, and they go to the range. They've got their 20-round box, and they fill up their mag with that 20-round box of ammunition. And they load their rifle, and they go boom, boom, because the rifle craps out after 2 or 3 shots. And they look around. Did anybody see that malfunction? No. Okay. Fix the gun. Boom, boom, boom. And the process repeats every 3 to 5 shots. And they look around, make sure nobody saw that their gun malfunctioned, because they don't want people to think they have a piece of crap gun, not realizing it's the piece of crap ammunition. So this repeats. They shoot their 20 rounds, they pack up, they go home. And they've done this maybe 2 or 3 times, 5 times tops. And they are going to swear up and down they've shot thousands of rounds without any problems. So I tell this individual, he's like, yeah, why don't you like steel-cased ammo? And I'm like, well, because you're not going to like steel-cased ammo. I've seen it on the line thousands of times. With all due respect, you're not going to have a good day. You're going to be clearing malfunctions the whole entire time instead of doing whatever the exercise is. You're going to get a case stuck. We're going to have to pop it out. All these other things. Steel-cased ammunition works great in communist guns like the AK and the SKS. That's what it was designed for. Use brass cased for American guns like the AR, because it runs a lot better with it. So, make sure your rifle and your optic are zeroed to your ammunition, the exact same type of ammunition you are going to use in class. If the ammunition is different, you will have a different point of aim, point of impact. If the optic has been removed and replaced, you're going to change your point of impact. All these things matter, and your eye versus somebody else's eye may cause a variance as well. I have seen a couple of times where a husband zeroed his rifle for his wife, and although it was on the money for the husband, the wife did not have the exact same eye, therefore she did not have the same point of impact, and she had to re-zero her rifle to her eye. Now, it's never off by a whole lot, but still. I've seen where people came in not with all the same type of ammunition, where they maybe had some steel and some brass and it was mismatched, and they were loading steel and brass in with each magazine, shooting it almost alternating, and wondered why they couldn't keep a tight group. And I'm like, well, that's why the description says all the same brand, all the same type. These things matter, my friends. Well, that's about it for gun class pro tips. I'd like to remind you that you do not have to be a patriot to train, but you do have to train if you want to consider yourself to be a true patriot. Take care. This video was brought to you by Greene Haven Customs. At Greene Haven Customs, you can build your very own custom stippling package. Greene Haven Customs offers textures, undercuts, thumb ledges, grooves, Cerakote, and more. For more information, go to greenhavencustoms.com. The link is in the description.